I really think it's a great thing what you're doing. So can you describe your situation with being incarcerated and like COVID-19 right now? Just so.
Okay, so I have a 27-year-old son, my firstborn. He's my eldest of 7 children. I have 6 sons and 1 daughter. My son, Keenan Alexander, he's also known as an alias in Cook County as Thalame Bird. That's Thalame and last name Bird, Byrd. That's an alias. Keenan had some challenges a few years ago. He was in a relationship with his children's mother, and she filed false kidnapping charges due to seeing him, in another relationship. Just typical, retaliation from jealousy. She has since then recanted, and she feels really bad about it. But the ball had already started rolling. So ultimately, Keenan ended up getting beaten by 3 white Georgia police officers. They tased him, they beat him, and coincidentally, he was charged with kidnapping the children because he went to rescue them. And I need to be clear and make sure people understand the backstory to understand why Keenan is where he is today. Because right. I don't want them to think that he's led a life of crime or anything like that. This all stemmed from Keenan trying to father to his children. And let me be clear, I don't want to insult the mother, or I'm not really trying to expose her, but I do have to share the truth. I have since forgiven her. We have a relationship. I did give her custody of the children back in 2017, and Keenan has not seen them since then because he continued to be on the run. Keenan could not make it back to court for financial reasons, not trying to evade the law. And after that, a bench warrant was issued for his arrest, and a nationwide extraditable warrant was issued. So Keenan was advised to just stay out of trouble, stay out of the way until you were able to return back to Georgia, right. to go to court, because they understood that the charges were felonious, but he never made it back. So Keenan continued to run. During that time, he hadn't gotten in any trouble. Keenan became a student at Kennedy King College studying business. He opened his own clothing line, which is Instantly LLC. So he continued to, try to better himself and to be a father. Even during a time of homelessness, we experienced homelessness while we were here. Keenan still had his children, moving from place to place and trying to find shelter, but he kept his children with him. So I just want to humanize him and let them understand who he is. My son is the apple of my eye and everyone's eye. Very, very good person. Now, Keenan was wrong because the police finally caught up to him and he ran, which is what he does. He runs because imagine being beaten one time, you don't want to be beaten again. So when Keenan sees the police, a trigger happens and he runs. So they caught him. He obtained charges. I won't go too much into detail about that, but they're nonviolent charges. And right now today, he took a plea and he was pending to go to court to finalize the final part of the plea, which was due April the 9th. Right. Keenan never made it to court because they froze the courts due to the coronavirus. So right now he is stuck because of that. His deck, Keenan is in deck BB in Division 11. That is the only deck in Cook County Jail, Division 11, that has no coronavirus cases today. The only one.
Right.
All of the other decks are contaminated. The final deck that wasn't contaminated was deck AA, which Keenan said is directly across from him. He can literally visualize it and see it.
Right.
They have the sign, they put the big Q for quarantine, but they are sharing the same ventilation system.
Right.
So Keenan I did an interview last night with a reporter from Washington, and the question that she asked Keenan was, what do you fear the most? And this is what hurt me more than anything. Keenan said what he fears the most is not living to see his court date so that he can be free. I'm sorry.
It's all right, man. Take your time.
Hearing that as a mother was gut-wrenching. I've been out here fighting for him, but he said, ma'am, I didn't want to say this in front of my mom, but I need to be transparent with you. But he said he's afraid that he won't live to see his court date. So that is the problem with all the other inmates. Okay, you consider them criminals, but they're humans and they are innocent until proven guilty. I know many of them may have committed the crimes they're accused of, but what about those that are innocent?
Right.
Do they deserve to die? None of them do. Now, I am not advocating for child rapists, murderers. I'm not advocating for them. I want to be clear on that. Let me be clear on that. Now, should they be released? No, I feel like they should be given a chance at life, though. Exactly. So separate them so that they will have a chance to live and see their day in court and be sentenced properly.
Right.
You want to sentence them to life, they deserve it. Leave them there. But in the meantime, they have a responsibility to preserve their lives.
They do.
So how else can it be nothing but murder? If you don't do that, then you're murdering them with the coronavirus. So that is why I am fighting. Cassandra Greer, her husband is Nicholas Lee, and that's the inmate that died around Easter. She's been partnering with me. We've been protesting outside the jail. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I don't want to walk in her shoes. Right. I don't want to bury my son. And I ache every time I see another inmate that has passed away. So 2 more since the last time I protested, 2 more inmates passed away. And I want to say their names. Juan Salgado Mendoza, he was 53. He died April 20th. Rini Olivio, 42, April 18th. So the total is up to 6 now. And 1 corrections officer.
Yeah.
One big thing that I want people to focus on, I did a little research because I wanted people to understand the magnitude of the sense of urgency, the magnitude of what's going on. March 24th, there were 3 confirmed cases, 3 confirmed corona cases in Cook County. Today is April 23rd. There are 448 confirmed cases for inmates. For the corrections officers, it's 173. And on March 24th, it was, I think, maybe two corrections officers. That averages out to about 15 inmates a day that are being infected with this virus.
It's undercounted. It's undercounted.
It's undercounted. Now, right. Keenan did say that they, even with the numbers, they're not giving accurate numbers. They're even reporting like 2 days behind to try to minimize, the scare. But the reality is, it's horrible.
Exactly.
It's horrible.
And what type of resources are they giving inmates to combat COVID-19 and like the spreading of the disease? Are they giving them any resources?
Well, so the judge ordered Tom Dart to provide them with sanitizer, masks, and clean running water. He's supposed to sanitize the decks and things like that, and masks. I want to be clear, he has not done that. Oh, and also antibacterial soap.
Okay.
I've gone live. I don't know if you've seen a few of my lives where the inmates themselves are saying the soap doesn't even lather. So clearly it's not antibacterial. It doesn't even lather. They weren't given masks. Keenan said they got masks a couple of days ago, but they're very thin and frail. So there's no chance for them to kind of protect themselves. I found out last night, Keenan doesn't even have hot water in his cell. He said, Mom, all I keep hearing is the way for us to combat the virus is to keep washing our hands in hot water, drinking hot water. How can my son do that if he doesn't have hot water in his cell?
Right.
He can't even drink the water in Cook County. My son's ice from the CO, and he puts it in the microwave and melts it, and that's how my son gets water. That's atrocious.
Yes, it is.
They're given 1 bottle of bleach to share amongst all the inmates on that deck. So they're scrambling over this 1 bottle of bleach to share to try to clean. Now, Tom Dart is supposed to, let me word it right. He was supposed to do preventive cleaning, power washing, comprehensive cleaning, and disinfecting. The inmates have a towel and a spray bottle with a diluted formula, which is like water and bleach. Right. And they are just going, when they come out of their cells for a short period of time, they're wiping the areas down. Can you imagine how much they're missing?
Yeah. And I mean, why?
So they're lying, and they need to be held accountable, and people need to know what's really, really going on in there.
So who are you targeting, like authoritative figures and people in power who can prevent this?
I've reached out. When I do my lives, I tag Governor Pritzker. I reach out to Willie Wilson, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Tony Periwinkle, Tom Dart. I tag LaShawn Ford. I tag everyone that I know to be in a position of power. And I haven't even gotten a response. There is a young lady, her name is Carolyn J. Ruff. She's an activist. She has no children there, not even family member, and she goes out every day, even if I'm not there, to protest and rally for the inmates. She waves at them, she honks a horn, she has a flag. The inmates are waving at us, they're doing the hand signals for a heart. Mm-hmm. We were told recently that I don't know if you could see on the windows where the inmates are saying, please save us, we don't want to die.
Yes.
I watched the inmates, what they began to do, they were writing their names and snatching them down really quick. And I'm like, what are they trying to tell me? I don't understand what they're doing.
Right.
And they said that they were afraid because what's happening is they're getting reprimanded. And now this may not, I don't know if it's true. I'm just telling you what I've heard from the inside, that they're getting reprimanded for writing on the windows, and officers are coming in, reprimanding them and coughing on them and stuff like that. The biggest thing for me is the reality is there is no realistic way to social distance in Cook County Jail. It is impossible. The telephones bolted to the wall are 2 feet apart.
Right.
2 feet, 6 feet. How can they social distance 6 feet?
Right.
They said that a cough or a sneeze travels 10 feet.
Yes.
If someone sneezes in the air, it lingers for 45 minutes. So those inmates come out of their cell, they're in the day room. It's called the day room. They let them out 11 at a time. And we know that one person can spread to 2 to 3 people. That's what's happening. Yeah. So imagine how it's multiplying in there.
Right.
So it's a cesspool. It's a cesspool.
So what are you directly asking to be done?
For me, I'm asking for my son, who doesn't deserve to be in there. I'm asking for him to be released. I don't even want him social distance. I want him home where he's safe, because the clock is ticking. He said all they're doing is a waiting game. They're just in there waiting to see who gets it, to see who dies. Can you imagine? The inmates are sharing, when they come on my live, they talk about their anxiety, how they're not sleeping. And one thing people are missing is the mental health that's right. A concern. Those inmates are going crazy. They're depressed. They're having a hard time. But I want my son released, because had my son gone to court April the 9th, he would be home. So why leave him there? Put him home on electronic monitoring until you guys figure this out. And do the same for other inmates. There's some inmates that just couldn't make bail. I'm a single mother of 7. I have my organization, Moms Can Do It, that advocates for single moms. And my heart aches for all the single mothers that couldn't post bail. For Keenan, for one of his cases, his bail is $100,000.
You just don't have that laying around.
I don't have that laying around. So my son has to, possibly, I don't want to say my son, I have to be mindful of that, but risk losing his life for $10,000.
Yes.
When you know that had he gone to court, the place where Keenan is right now, if he went to court, Keenan would dress in and dress out. That's what they call it. That's when your time is done, because Keenan served the required time. He didn't want to take a plea. He took that at the advice of his attorney. He fought until the last minute. And I want to share this because I want people to get this. The night before Keenan went to court, he had a cellie that went to court the day previously.
Mm-hmm.
They offered him a plea of 18 months. He didn't take the plea because he said, nope, I'm going to fight. I'm innocent. I'm going to beat this. I'm not going to admit to something that I didn't do. He came back from court. He was sentenced to 8 years.
Wow.
So had he taken the plea, he would have went to court, dressed it, and he would have went home.
Right.
So, and this is typically happening to our Black and brown people. Take a plea, take a plea.
Right.
But you got to understand the gamble. Do I gamble on 8 years, 12 years, or do I know that I'm going home? So ultimately, I'm not happy about it. I watched my son break when he took that plea. The judge had to ask him 6 times, do you accept this plea? Do you admit to this? Mm-hmm. And my heart went into my stomach because I saw my Black Muslim son break right then and there. So you already broke his spirit. Let him out. You've already damaged him. Let him out and let him live and try to rebuild his life.
I totally agree with you. I mean, my dad was also incarcerated, and like he had to go through that too, like where, he had me and my mom at home, and, having to be gone for 5 to 6 years was hard. But I totally understand just have that heartbreak. Like my dad still talks about like his depression and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how are you dealing with that? And also like, you know, having a family on the outside. I touch for your story. Like I feel for your story, and I'm going to do my best to say everything I can say, all that I can do. And like, you know, really let people know about what's going on. Cause
I appreciate it.
it's like, for me hearing your story, it just seems like there's always something. And like, I know teens like me, like this is expectable because our prisons and jails are just a system anyway. Like we get it.
Right.
It's just frustrating, especially during this time, because they're not even handling us that are, you know, on the outside well at all.
No.
It's just
So
frustrating.
imagine them. And we have a fighting chance. We can try to social distance. We can stay at home and try to be safe. They can't do anything.
Exactly.
Kenan said a cellmate, his cellie over from him, 2 days ago, had a terrible anxiety attack, and they called the COs, and someone came, and he said they talked to him for about 5 minutes. He was having trouble breathing because you know what happens with an anxiety attack, and all he kept saying was, "I'm not going to live to see my 4-year-old daughter again."
Wow.
I'm just like, I need them to understand. I have a few officers that I went to school with, that I have friends that work at county, and it's been a challenge because I've seen them post and say, you know what, pray for us. We're in there taking care of your monsters. So I had to unfriend them. And I messaged a few of them. I said, you know what, I want you to be mindful of what you say, because you're my friend and you know you're calling him a monster, but you have a responsibility to protect them. And to be quite frankly, you guys brought it in there. They're not going home. Kenan's deck are the same inmates that have been there the entire time. So guess what? Kenan made me understand how it travels as well. So you have the COs coming back and forth. So those COs, they may not have worked on that deck on that particular day. So that's transferred. That's a risk of contamination right there. Then a lot of the jobs that are in there, the inmates are doing. So Kenan said the inmates come and deliver the food trays. So they're touching the trays. They're going from each division to another division. Contamination. So Kenan's deck is not protected
at all.
You know what I mean? It's not protected. So you can't keep saying you're able to social distance. You can't. And you can't stop the spread of this virus. So do the best that you can to decarcerate and let people out so they'll have a chance and you guys can really spread people out. Now, the CDC stipulates that when a place is contaminated, it's supposed to be emptied and power washed and cleaned. How can they do that at the county? Now, when it happens at a police station, they go crazy. They clear the police station, send all the officers home, shut the precinct down for 3 hours, and they clean it. Cook County cannot do that.
Right.
Kenan said power washing. No, power washing is made with a rag and a spray bottle of bleach and water, trying to clean it.
Right.
The phones, they're not able to wipe the phones down because they're all trying to scramble and share this bleach. And you know what they're doing? They're putting socks over the phone. That's the only way that they feel like they can try to protect themselves.
Right.
It's putting a sock on the phone so they won't be contaminated. It's a nightmare. It's horrible. And they need to stop sugarcoating and lying about the real conditions in there and expose Tom Dart. He is not taking care of those inmates. And guess what? I told my police officer, my corrections officer friend, you guys need to fight too, because you guys are getting it too. And now one of them have died. So now you guys need to rally with the inmates and say, hey, you guys, we need to do something. Send some of them home so we can have a chance at life.
Right. It's not, it doesn't just.
It's both ways. It's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. And is the Cook County Jail being transparent to families and friends in this situation? No. Because you have a lot of information.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
I was saying, like, I see you have a lot of information, but obviously you probably talk to your son a lot, to a lot of people inside. I just wondered if the jail was even being transparent or, showing.
No, I even, there's an inmate that came on my live. He's in Division 11 with Kenan. His name is Pedro Puentes. He is in Division 11. His wife is in Division 5. She caught coronavirus about a week and a half ago. The family was not notified. Cook County is not even notifying the family members in time. The family found out from her best friend who happened to hear from someone else. And for a few days, he didn't hear from his wife. He didn't even know where she was. I have a god sister and I won't mention the name, but her brother was diagnosed with the coronavirus on Sunday. He is in Division 9. She has not heard anything. She's called and said, "Where's my brother? Where's my brother?" And they said, "Just hold on. Someone will get back to you." Cassandra Greer, which is Nicholas Lee's, that's the inmate that died on Easter, his wife stated that you can die by injection and it's rather quickly. If they execute someone and hang them, they die rather quickly. She said, but her husband suffered and was sentenced to death from March 29th to April 12th, because that's how long Cook County he suffered. He was in Division 8 and he suffered and finally passed away on April the 12th. And I want people to think about that. He suffered all that time. That's murder. You guys murdered him. He didn't want to go to Division 8. It's a saying that Division 8, that's the real death box in there, because people that go to Division 8, they don't make it back.
Wow.
And they're transporting them to outside facilities, but they only wait until they're at death's door. So everyone knows by the time you begin to cough, they say you do the test where you hold your breath for 10 seconds.
Right.
By that time, it's taken over 50% of it's invaded 50% of your lungs. So I'm being told by the inmates that they're waiting until they are just almost done and taking them out and waiting until they're practically at death's door. So they don't really have a chance. The inmates are taking care of the prisoners, their fellow inmates, because the guards and everyone, they're afraid to touch them.
Exactly.
So they're the ones going and comforting them, trying to wipe their head, trying to see what they can do. Let's talk about the food. Last week, the inmates that don't have commissary, they ate 3 peanut butter jelly sandwiches. They served them peanut butter jelly sandwiches the entire day.
That's it.
Another inmate, a couple days ago, he ate, it was Sunday, he ate eggs and applesauce. Now, another problem I had, my side point out that on October 31st, he was fed a with a dead rat in it. Were you aware of that?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, so that's why I stress that his immune system has already been compromised.
Exactly.
So on October 31st of 2019, Keenan was fed a tray and a rat was in it, and he had already begun to consume the food. I went to social media in desperation with a cry for help, because it took Cook County Jail 7 days to get him to the hospital. The only reason he did was because my friends and family, and that's why I love my social media platform, because they support me. They rallied around, they called, emailed, and I even had a friend, she was an attorney, she volunteered and went down and demanded that they take Keenan to the hospital. So he went to hospital November the 7th. He was poisoned October 31st. I went to see him that Saturday. His tongue was swollen and had horrible white spots on it. And as I began to talk to him, he's like, "Mom, I have a fever. Mom, I don't think I'm going to be okay." And I'm like, "Keenan, what's going on?" He began to talk kind of loopy. I'm like, "Are you listening? Son, what's wrong?" Ultimately, I found out they gave him an antipsychotic medicine when they told him they would give him an antibiotic.
Wow. So.
Yeah. And so some people came to the defense and said, "Oh, well, the side effects help with nausea." No. You could have given my son Pepto-Bismol if that's the case. Why did you give him an antipsychotic medicine? He has no history of mental illness. He's a healthy young man, had no physical ailments or any issues. Why did you give him antipsychotic medicine? So on November the 6th, the 5th, I think that's the date I did the video. I'll share the video with you. Okay. They went into Keenan's cell, removed him and his fellow inmate, shook the cell down, stole the medicine back from Keenan, took it back so that he wouldn't have the pills anymore. But thank God I had asked Keenan to share the name of the drug before they snuck and took it back. And I went to Facebook hysterical, because once I Googled it and found out what it was, I was like, oh my God, that's why he's been talking crazy. So for 5 to 6 days, they fed him an antipsychotic drug. And on the 7th, because they got so many calls, and my friends and family and Facebook family called and demanded that Keenan be taken to the hospital. They did. And that's how I was able to also secure an attorney. I did a fundraiser, and everyone on Facebook helped me get the money to retain an attorney. So I love and appreciate my social media platform. People like you guys sharing my story, it helps. You know, I get results. I had a family member tell me just last night, you know, Keenan's going to get out and he's going to want to restart his life, and you're giving all this exposure. He's going to want to start his future over, and you're giving him all this negative exposure with him being in jail. This is only temporary. You know what my answer was?
But
I'm trying to make sure he lives to see his future.
exactly. And I mean, he's gonna want to like speak on this. He's already, does he support you in this idea?
Yes, yes. With my organization, I've worked with the homeless. I've put on, I usually do a annual event. It's called the Ready to Work Closet, pre-Mother's Day Ready to Work Closet event, where we bless 20 single moms that have been nominated by people throughout Chicago and the South suburbs. And we provide them with work clothes. We do makeovers. I have motivational speaking. I've done that for 3 years in a row. I actually had the fourth one scheduled for May the 9th, but of course, with the pandemic, I have to cancel. But Keenan has been on the forefront of that. He's the last event, not this one, the previous one, he was there. He served food, um, always up front and center. All of my children, they participate and support and work in the community just like me. So Keenan is already, I'm pretty sure after this, his voice will be even stronger. So I look forward to it.
Yes. And I mean, what can people do, like the people that I'm writing to at TrueStar, our audience, and, we'll be sharing this everywhere. What can they do to specifically help what you're trying to do? Who can they call? Where can they go? Like
whomever. I ask them to reach out to their colleagues, because I think that what matters is sometimes you have that one person that knows someone, and it gets into the right hands. It gets into the person that can really move to action, or the person that can really make a difference. I've tried to do that as far as Governor Pritzker, Lori Lightfoot. Okay, I don't know if they're too busy. I don't know. I'm sure they have a lot on their hands, but that one person can say, you know what? Let me help mom. Let me help Keenan, so Keenan can be a success story, and so that we can begin to help others. So they can just continue to spread the word and send letters, call, email. I'm not asking everyone to go out and protest, because I understand the social distancing and the need to, shelter themselves as much as possible. So I know that's important. And of course, when we go out, it's probably not more than 5 people at a time, and we do spread 6 feet. So I'm not asking everybody to go to the front line, but use other tools. You can use social media. Look, how did I get to you? Someone shared my story with you. So it helps. As many platforms that my voice, for Keenan's voice, can be heard, all the more better. And initially, I was concerned about my child, because that's my child. That's my firstborn. But
Right.
when I began to talk to Keenan, and you have this cellmate next to him, and he's hearing how his wife can't talk to his wife and how he's feeling, and me and Keenan decided, you know what, let's start doing live videos so we can share their voice too. And I said, you know what, it's not just about my son. He's not the only one in there that's facing death. So I advocate for suicide prevention, homelessness, domestic violence, have all these other causes. Single moms, add this to the list, but this is most important than anything, because my child is fighting for his life, and I want him to live.
That is powerful. And how can people reach you? I know you talked about your Facebook. I don't know if you have any other social media things you want to plug for the article.
My organization page is Moms Can Do It, the number 2. And that's where they can see the history. That's where I post any events that I may do. I share information, jobs, things like that. So Moms Can Do It, the number 2 is my other platform.
Okay.
I do beauty pageants, and I don't do them to compete as a beauty queen. I do them to reach a broader spectrum. Doing pageantry has helped me reach people all over the world, and that's all the more better for me to share my cause. So I am affiliated with Cisco and Cisco Productions. That's a cancer organization that fights cancer. The founder is Yvonne Cisco. So it's Cisco, which is CISCO, and CISCO Productions.
And thank you for sharing.
If anyone wants to make donations, they can reach out to me for that. It has been a challenge for keeping money for Keenan to be able to call. And like during this time, Keenan calls probably 3-4 times a day. And I know that it's due to his anxiety, but I want every time he reaches out to call for someone to be able to answer the phone, whether it be me, a family member. I even, put money for his siblings, so that if I can't answer, someone can answer the phone, so that he can keep his peace of mind. he's writing a book right now, and that's what he's focusing on. So that helps with his anxiety right now. But just if I'm not asking for any specific amount or anything, but just if anyone wants to help with that. Carolyn J. Ruff, she sent me a donation today, just so that I would be able to, make it to get to the Cook County Jail, and like I said, be able to put money on Keenan's books, because he needs commissary. He doesn't, since the rat poisoning, he has been too fearful to eat any of their food, and I understand. So he has a phobia now of eating their food since he was poisoned. So, and he's a Muslim, so their diet is different, and they hadn't been accommodating him. So all Keenan eats really is noodles. He says, "Mom, I really just eat noodle peanut butter jelly sandwiches." And that was another heartbreak for me, because they have no food with no nutrition. Like, are you getting vegetables? Do they give you guys that? No, no. Applesauce and eggs and peanut butter jelly sandwiches. So thanks to you guys. I am humbled, and I'm honored that you reached out to share my son's story, and I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much.